Everyone loves music. It's a uniquely human concept, but you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who dislikes organized sounds as a concept. In fact, love of music is so normalized that we have a word for people who don't like it: musical anhedonia. And while it's not in so much a disorder, it's understood as not normal. Even so few people seem to understand the mechanics of music. In fact, music before the modern era was so complex and prohibitively expensive to produce and perform and listen to that it was considered a rare treat. Even after the advent of records and tapes, the creation of music was hoarded by record labels and companies trying to make the most money. That is, until the internet. When I was in 8th grade, in the ancient days of 2009, I remember we had a class in my middle school called simply computers. In this post-millennial pre-Gen Z age, where people had to wait for an entire YouTube video to load, and most parents only had shitty Windows ME machines, the role of the internet was both cemented in the public conscious enough to have a class called computers, but also tenuous enough that Mrs. Skim didn't know what to teach us outside of learn-to-type software. This was a wild era, a strange era. This was the era before the monopolization of sites like Facebook and Google, and the era of Something Awful, 4chan, and of course, Reddit. And in that tenuous time, in that class simply called computers, I saw a video titled The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Old Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground when suddenly Batman burst from the shade and hit Godzilla with a bat grenade. Godzilla got pissed and began to attack, but didn't expect to be blocked by Shaq, who proceeded to open up a can of Shaq Fu when Aaron Carter came out of the blue.
A frankly subpar animation accompanied by a chaotic song that was both so crusty and horrid, yet so new and astounding that it captured my imagination forevermore. This was my first exposure to Lemon Demon, and I'm sure it's familiar to you. Maybe you're younger and found Lemon Demon through Spirit Phone. Maybe you discovered them through a friend excitedly telling you about them. But Lemon Demon isn't something that's simply been around forever. It's something that's discovered over and over, like a diamond in the midst of the black coal of the internet. I love this video, and hungry for more, you can imagine my delight when I used shitty dial-up modems at home to slowly download Potter Puppet Pals on YouTube and show my mom, only to discover the creators were one and the same. You can also imagine my delight when I found Lemon Demon's website with free downloads ready to be ingested. I remember walking to the bus stop with my MP3 player in my hands, playing songs like Ultimate Showdown and Lemon Demon, and of course, I've Got Some Falling to Do. Many memes and phenomena from this time period have faded away into obscurity. Advice Animals, Rage Comics, countless memes like I Heard You Like Mudkips are now laughably passé, but Lemon Demon, and more broadly, Neil Cicierega, have stayed constant, almost like a fulcrum around which the internet turns, joining the ranks of The Rickroll and Pepe the Frog. Like I said before, everyone loves music, and Lemon Demon was one of the first pioneers of music in a digital age, an age where people could make anything and put it out there for no cost, a new form of creativity. Lemon Demon's story is a story of indie creation on the internet, and a story about how far we've come in breaking away from people who would keep creativity behind walls. This much you likely already know if you've clicked on this thumbnail, something you already fondly regard, but something that a lot of people miss out on is the absolute breadth of work Neil has made. I need to shine a spotlight on this, because Lemon Demon isn't just Spirit Phone, Lemon Demon isn't just Brody Quest, and Lemon Demon certainly isn't just the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny. So, will you come with me? Let's take a deep dive into the discography of Lemon Demon. Where did Lemon Demon come from? Did it just burst onto the scene one day as some viral sensation? Did Neil Cicierega simply climb out of someone's dial-up modem to wreak havoc forevermore? Like many online musicians, Neil's early work can be traced back to obscure releases that no one clicked on, posted without so much thought. These releases were known as Trapezoid and Mego vs. Spago. I'll call this the instrumental era because Neil's main focus was on instrumental music during this time, with a few exceptions that we'll discuss. I couldn't find information about which came first, but for the sake of a timeline, let's say both of these following releases were around the year 2000. It's likely that only Neil himself knows the answer, but even that is tenuous. Let's first discuss Mego vs. Spago, about which much less is known. Only two tracks from this name are known, a track called He and a track called Cryogenic Freezing Process. According to the Lemon Demon wiki, quote, the name is a reference to the Mego and Spago directories found on the Escape from Monkey Island game discs, which contain the game's audio. He is a straightforward rock-influenced song that would be right at home in a Sonic game or something. Cryogenic is more funk-inspired and also sounds to me like it's more video gamey, but more in a Jet Set Radio vibe. The Mego releases are both what I like to describe as repetitive but quality. Neil's style is present in both, though, particularly in Cryogenic, which rather mimics Lemon Demon's title conventions moving forward. Let's move on now to Neil's first formal release, Trapezoid, also known as Deporitaz, operating from roughly the year 2000 until 2002, with an extra release in 2007, consisting of 4 full-length album releases: Outsmart from June 2000, Microwave This CD from June 2001, Dimes from 2002, and Circa 2000, released in 2007. The name change, from Trapezoid to the anagram Deporitaz, was due to another band also called Trapezoid requesting a name change. This request was granted after Neil had disbanded Trapezoid, so he agreed, leading to the only release officially bearing the Deporitaz name being Circa 2000. Outsmart was the first release, available for free on lemondemon.com. It contains 15 tracks. Outsmart, as a project, is very reminiscent of the original music of the time, primarily MIDI-flavored tracks with fairly flat mixing. Neil's emphasis seems to be on songwriting, giving each of his compositions different sections and a dynamic change within the constraints of the medium of early music creation. My favorite track would have to be Cows, which according to the wiki probably doesn't stand for anything. It's playing now. You can also see Neil's signature style in his titles, with tracks like Blips and or Blips, along with Sounds Like a Jackhammer with an exclamation point. There's not really much to say about Outsmart. It's pleasant, but not noteworthy. The next album, though, is far more interesting. The 2001 album, Microwave This CD, is semi-lost media. A lot of it, including some tracks as well as the album cover, were lost, but enough of it remains to comment on. Unlike Outsmart, which was all straightforward MIDI-styled tunes, Microwave includes tracks that have samples and references to video games of the time.
Hey, Max! 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 Me! Max! 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 Max!
Track 8, Sam & Max Disco, contains samples from Sam & Max Hit the Road, and the point-and-click references don't end there. Track 5 is a remix from the Monkey Island games that have lyrics written for it that were never released. Some tracks, such as Untitled and Smosho's Journey, don't have any files attached, and there are some songs that are thought to have been on the album without confirmation but were later disproven, such as Spiders and The Adventures of. Neil's skills seem to be expanding on this album, but they remain somewhat limited to the scope of MIDIs and samples.
Max. 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 Max.
The third and final album was released in 2003, known as Dimes. To me, this is Neil's first more formal release, as it was given album art, and the first to graduate past simple MIDI tracks and into more developed songs. It's also the last album before Neil's evolution into Lemon Demon proper. More on that soon. The first track on Dimes is probably the most significant, titled I Know Your Name, the first track to feature vocals, but not the first to feature lyrics. Here's
out
some.
into the mall, all in all, it was pretty fun. But then it happened. I bumped into a random guy, he said, excuse me, and he tried to walk away. But I had just had a psychic vision. I said, sir, I don't know why, but I know your name. I said, I know your name.
Again, Neil's songwriting is excellent from day one, even if the mix and his vocals could use some improvement. It's quite listenable from a fledgling musician, and that isn't faint praise if you've heard other online artists' earlier works. Beyond this, the rest of the tracks are pretty standard Deportaz stuff, but more evolved. There's some more sophisticated things, like panning and better mixing, but altogether it's the best Deportaz
My name is
release.
Fred, and then he slowly walked away. I never saw that guy again. Went back to my house, went to my room to feed my fish, which was floating on its back, so I gave it to
The final Deportaz release happened in 2007, so we're jumping ahead a bit here, but we could talk about it because all the tracks were developed in the same early 2000s time frame in the aptly titled Circa 2000. According to Neil, this album was produced as follows, quote, basically, I scoured my many hundreds of old Cakewalk files, collected some tunes that fell through the cracks, gave them titles, and put them in this collection for you. Enjoy. Cakewalk, of course, refers to an early DAW, or digital audio workstation, known as Cakewalk, which Neil likely used for most, if not all, of these early Deportaz tracks. This album, I would say, is the most hit or miss. Some tracks, like Birth of a Cosmonaut, are fully realized and would be excellent with added lyrics or as a video game background music, but others like Squats were clearly originally unreleased for a reason. All in all, for Lemon Demon buffs, I think these 4 albums are worth a listen, primarily Dimes. I remember a few Dimes and Circa tracks on my MP3 player, and re-listening was a good dose of nostalgia. It's fascinating to listen to Neil's evolution from this guy who primarily did MIDI work to a more accomplished songwriter. You can really see the increase in his ambition. Like with each of these albums, he masters something new. You can see his style develop too, with all of his song titles being whimsical and fun to read on their own. My all-time favorite title being, When Grandma Regains Consciousness, She Will Thank Us. I really appreciate these early works being available. Neil has never been part of a formal record label, and unlike other musicians, seeing his growth is not only easy, but free too. It also heartens me greatly knowing that everyone, even titans like Neil, start out as newbies, striking out and trying to make something. But you're not here to just see some MIDI tracks from a defunct music project from the early 2000s. You're here for the good shit. In 2003, a demon was born.
He's got fresh juice for $1. He's got the big kind. If you're into that, you take one sip and one more sip. Pretty soon you're chugging on the whole bag. It's Lemon Demon. It's Lemon Demon. You cannot resist the lemonade.
Clown Circus was produced, directed, written, crafted, made, executed, begun, incepted, and performed by Neil Cicierega under his new title, Lemon Demon, a name that would come to shake the foundations of the internet for decades to come, but for now was a simple project by a 17-year-old and some of his friends.
Lemon Demon. It's Lemon Demon. Would you like a sip?
The first track of Clown Circus, Error, is an instrumental that seems to bring Neil from his prior project into a new paradigm, evolving and sweeping up the viewer, hypnotizing and priming them for what's to come. The true beginning of Clown Circus, and by extension Lemon Demon, is the eponymous track, Lemon Demon, featuring, for the second time ever, vocals by Neil and a backup verse from contributor Aaron Ackerson, a musician in his own right. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Lemon Demon kinda sucks. The song, I mean, not the artist. With the paradigm shift comes this sort of step backwards for Neil, where his instrumentals and vocals suffer a bit due to the lack of training. He's this guy coming from a very MIDI tradition, finally making something more conventionally recorded, and on top of this, he's every instrument except for Aaron's singular verse, as far as we know. That said, this is extremely listenable. When I said sucks before, I meant relatively speaking. I said this in the trapezoid section, but the fact that this guy, who as far as we know had no formal training except for 3 stints in MIDI instrumental albums, published independently is astounding. Intuitive might be the word for it. A better word than sucks might be formative, where Neil is still working out his sound. That's my adjective for this whole album, actually. Formative. It's hit or miss, with the misses being quite forgettable and the hits being solid. The crunchiness also gives it a unique aesthetic that's also quite nostalgic. Still, I think it's a pity Neil never re-released this eponymous track. Standouts from this album include Don't Be Like the Sun and Bowling Alley, the latter of which features an almost Tom Waits-esque anecdote about a dream Neil had. It's all very avant-garde, and not in the pretentious sense, but in the sense of a man genuinely trying to find out what works. This album is throwing lemons at the wall to see which ones stick. I should give special attention to track 13, Hyakugo Juichi, which is, incidentally, the best track from a production standpoint, but it has a story all of its own, which is sort of a tangent, but bear with me. So, in 2003, Neil wasn't just making albums, he was also doing this thing called animutation, which basically Neil invented shitposting. Just watch it. So, this is Neil's second animutation, a massive animation using stock assets set to the song Hyakugo Juichi, which translates to 151, and served as the ending to the Japanese release of Pokemon's first season. Hyakugo Juichi 2003, then, is a 6-minute track featuring Neil, Aaron Ackerson, as well as 3 individuals known as Xander, Toxic, and finally, Schmorky, a webcomic artist from the Something Awful days. Please don't Google them. And this song was to advertise a 3.5-minute animation, urging the listener to watch and analyze it. Also, it goes hard. Anyway, that's basically Clown Circus. Notably, this album has a more communal feel, as Neil shied away from lyrical contributors later, but notably there's a writing credit for Alora Lanzillotta, a contributor who also played bass for Lemon Demon's live album. The final Clown Circus track is arguably the most competent one, only a few lyrics called Elsewhere. One of Neil's most underrated compositions and shows he's always been an excellent songwriter, even 20 years ago. 2003 was a big year for Neil, though, as in July, Neil would release another album to the now-defunct mp3.com. This one is 17 tracks long and features one of my personal favorite tracks, Dance Like an Idiot. And while the quality is largely similar to Clown Circus, there are some notable tracks that are worth mentioning. The album, of course, is called Live from the Haunted Candle Shop, but is not a live album. Hydroelectric Viking is another instrumental track to begin things off, but it's probably, to date, Neil's most Lemon Demon sounding song yet. The second track, The Saga of You, Confused Destroyer of Planets, also marks an early LD shtick of telling an absurd story in song form, featuring Neil's storytelling skills, which are quite excellent. The tracks rather run together on this one. Neil seems to have found his stride, but that comes at the expense of variety. Boat and Fiberglass Monkey both sound similar to earlier tracks, an emphasis on synths and distorted guitars with similar drums in Neil's vocals. Track 9, Buja Jabuja, which sounds like some shit off the Loco Roco soundtrack or from Star Wars, just has nonsense lyrics which breaks up the monotony in a delightful way. Neil would have some more sophisticated nonsense songs in his later career, so keep an eye on this. Track 11 is a cover of Choo Choo Rocket. And for people who don't recognize that name, it's a fucking... It's a game. Look, I can't explain this. It's a game, okay? There's mice and cats and... It's fine. Don't worry about it. Track 15 is just a straight cover of Birdhouse in Your Soul by They Might Be Giants, which Neil puts his own spin, playing it mostly in double time. I like it a lot. I wish Neil did more covers, but doing covers reveals a little of Neil's developing voice in this era. The album ends with Movie Night, a slower song, finally dispensing the variety this album desperately needed. It only took until March 2004 for Neil to bust out another album, Hip to the Java Bean. I like the cover art for this one, a cute little pillow guy drawn by Neil's sister Emmy. Not only does this have 15 tracks, but 8 bonus tracks and a README file. I would say this album is the first full-stop good Lemon Demon album. The first track continues the tradition of an instrumental first track with a twist. Instead of Neil, it's a synthesized voice musing on the nature of toast. I find this quite compelling, as it's Lemon Demon's first foray into existential mundanity. Keep your eye on that. Track 3, however, is a watershed moment for Lemon Demon.
You walk around in circles, I walk around in squares. Another round of musical chairs, and maybe no one really cares about the way we walk. The record stores are out of stock, and all we want is bloody rock.
This is the first song on any of the albums, Deportes has to now, to be, in my opinion, professional quality. The main element to this distinction is Neil's clearly upgraded microphone that no longer sounds like he's trying to escape from a tin can. The mixing is also clearly improved due to Neil's increased experience. It's not perfect, but it's finally there. The fidelity is still nostalgic, but it's good. I like it. Another noteworthy track is Telekinesis, which features what I call Lemon Demon Kish, a pure distillation of Neil's interest in conspiracies and cryptids in a hodgepodge format.
Nobody knows my true identity. For all we know, I'm John F. Kennedy's love child with Nosferatu. We can't know, but still we got to. Nobody knows how deep this mystery goes, but ancient caveman history shows we're all descended from the same evil aliens line.
It depicts a skepticism but a deep love for these things, and an underlining sense of mysticism that would feature heavily on the later release Spirit Phone, but more on that later. Another noteworthy track is the re-released I Know Your Name from the Deportes era. I still prefer the first one, but there's no denying this one is more competently made.
It was a Friday, I saw a movie, but it wasn't very long, so I snuck into another one. Employees caught me, they threw me out into the mall. All in all, it was pretty fun, but then it happened.
The other two tracks worth mention are I've Got Some Falling to Do and Bad Idea, two more narrative songs, respectively about a man falling to his death, which now has a great AIM Kit animation, and Bad Idea being the first song to feature an albino black sheep animation. Albino black sheep and flash animation will feature later, so keep your eyes peeled. There's also Run, Harry, Run, which was the genesis of Neil's parodical fixation with Harry Potter.
Dursley's and Harry's relatives were wretched as could be. He prayed each night to Satan that they died from gonorrhea. But one
Clown
day
Circus, Candle Shop, and Java Bean all constitute what I call Pre-Showdown Lemon Demon, the era which contained Neil's formative works. After this, Neil provides commentary tracks with his albums, seeming to indicate the releases after 2005 are the first ones he's taken seriously, and it's clear to see why. These three albums are adorable in the same way that a newborn deer is adorable. It's a bit wobbly and confused, but you know it's going to be something truly majestic once it grows up. Oh, and it would. It would, faster than anyone had ever expected. On March 21st, 2005, Lemon Demon released Damn Skippy. It had a whopping 18 tracks and 8 bonus tracks, and it represents another paradigm shift in Lemon Demon. If Java Bean was Demon's first good album of professional quality, Damn Skippy is Demon's first great album. I've made a lot of judgmental little comments about how early Lemon Demon is comparatively bad, and Damn Skippy was the comparison point. Damn Skippy is a pace test for Lemon Demon. And I've got great news. It only gets better from here. I've mentioned this before, but let's make it official. Lemon Demon songs all fall into one of a few categories that I've alluded to in previous sections. Let's enumerate them. 1. Paranormal kitsch. This, of course, is when Neil indulges conspiracy and supernatural elements in a satirical way. 2. Direct narrative. Usually, first or second person, Neil describes some noteworthy event or happening. 3. Nonsense. Neil makes a song with lyrics that make no sense, on purpose. I've discussed these 3, but here are another few. 4. A character study. Neil describes one or more characters and describes their quirks. 5. Surreal mundanity. Something average or standard is explained in depth or in absurd terms. I'm going to be discussing these loosely from here on to describe some noteworthy tracks, so here we go.
Will my sea monkeys go to heaven? Will my sea monkeys go to heaven? Will my sea monkeys go to heaven? Will my sea monkeys go to heaven?
Damn Skippy sheds the tradition of an instrumental track opening and hops right in with Dead Sea Monkeys, a very relatable track that anyone who's ever tried to raise sea monkeys can relate to. This would be one of Neil's surreal mundanity tracks, continued with Kitten is Angry and The Ceiling, but the real stars of Damn Skippy are Subtle Oddities, Word Disassociation, and of course, Mr. Porta Potty Man.
Mr. Porta Potty Man, Mr. Porta Potty Man, he drag potty all around, he bring potty to your town.
Neil also does some riffing on his own material here, such as bonus track 6, a rendition of musical chairs from Java Bean, as well as an alternate track of Subtle Oddities as bonus track 8. These new tracks aren't one-to-one upgrades, but instead iterations, showing Neil's evolving style. Comparing musical chairs, in fact, shows Neil's growth over just a few years.
You walk around in circles, walk around in squares, another round of musical chairs, and maybe no one really cares about the way we walk. The record stores are out of stock, and all we want is bloody rock and roll. And clearly this is not the way to go. I walk around in squares, another round of musical chairs, and maybe no one really cares about the way we walk. The record stores are out of stock, and all we want is bloody rock and roll. And clearly this is not the way to go. I saw it in the mirror, the ghost of
Neil also made a nice video for Word Disassociation later in 2006.
lasagna, reverse blue wax, semi-automatic aqua, company slacks, white coffee gymnastic, water spring in the brow, existential plastic, extra nightly count.
If you'd like more information about each track, I'd suggest looking into Neil's own commentary tracks, which are available on YouTube. There's a lot of interesting trivia here. My favorite story from the commentary is the song What Will Happen, being a song that was intended to cheer up his friends after the Bush election in 2004. Inspiration can come from anywhere. The biggest improvement on Damn Skippy, of course, was Neil's vocals. Where before they were a bit spotty, they really come into their own here. Neil has a voice that isn't really conventional as a singer, but as it developed, it became nearly synonymous with his personal style, iconic almost. There were lots of musicians who have unconventional voices like Tom Waits and Bob Dylan, and while Neil doesn't sound quite as gritty as they do, he exudes a clear confidence, like a lanky carnival barker gazing at you with glinting eyes, inviting you into his emporium of sounds. Neil also shines in song structure. He uses the tried and true chorus-verse style, but these choruses and verses are always distinct from each other, yet cohesive. He often also utilizes a third verse that has a different style from the others to keep things interesting. I describe his style in the word novel, something that carries over from his Deportaz days. It's nothing revolutionary, but he does a lot with an established structure. So Damn Skippy is a good album. Great even. You might think it can't get any better than this, that this might be a high point, but for those of you who know what's coming, you know that it does. Before we talk about Dynasty Orchestra, we have to talk about the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Old Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground when suddenly Batman burst from the shade and hit Godzilla with a bat grenade. Godzilla got pissed and began to attack, but didn't expect to be blocked by Shaq, who proceeded to open up a can of Shaq Fu when Aaron Carter came out of the blue.
Up to this point, Neil's fans were mostly niche forum goers in the mid-2000s internet ecosystem, but Ultimate Showdown was the first time Neil broke free of this mold alone and gained viral acclaim. The song itself was released on December 22, 2005 to Newgrounds, animated by Sean Vuillez, aka Alt F4. The Flash animation got 12 million hits and counting on that site, and even more on incarnations on YouTube and other sites. The total view count could easily top billions. The song also gained acclaim outside of the internet, being featured on Dr. Demento's compilation album Basement Tapes No. 15 in 2007, a year after Dynasty Orchestra. It was also the top requested song for Dr. Demento in 2006, topping his Funny 25 list alongside titans like Weird Al, Jonathan Colton, and Luke Ski.
You don't know Jack, the great Luke Ski on the Dr. Demento show. That makes it 5 years in a row that Luke has had a new song somewhere in the top 5 of the year-end countdown. 2 of those were number 1, but someone else ran away with the number 1 spot this year. Another artist making his Funny 25 debut, and right at the very top. Can't beat that. The number 1 song for 2006 is next. And there it is. Pretty much a wire-to-wire win for that song, which came out right after Christmas '05, went straight to the top, and was number 1 again on our last non-Christmas Funny 5 of this year, The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny by Lemon Demon, available on his CD called Dynasty Orchestra. You know, Lemon Demon tells me, and everyone else I think, that one of his major inspirations was the music of the late Logan Whitehurst. We'll hear a lot of that music, including some rarities, on next week's Dr. Demento show. You can request a song anytime.
Funny aside, to get that recording, I had to buy it from the Dr. Demento website, which is like the worst website I've ever been to. It's crusty as fuck, and I kind of love it. I PayPal'd them $3, and they sent me an email with a password to get into their audio downloads. It was fucking awesome. Interestingly, on this recording, Neil cites one of his inspirations, Logan Whitehurst and the Junior Science Club. Check them out if you want more Lemon Demon-esque shit. You can really, really see the inspiration. They're kind of like if They Might Be Giants kept doing educational albums, but went insane along the way.
Vision or fusion, vision or fusion, vision or fusion, vision or fusion. Vision, a nuclear reaction in which a single atom dwindles incoherency and splits apart in an explosion. No degradation.
Anyway, this is all to say that Ultimate Showdown was one of the first memes on the internet with any staying power. I would say it's transcended meme. Nearly everyone has seen it by now. We love it. It's the fucking Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny. Not only this, but Ultimate Showdown in all of its crusty Flash animated glory showed the world what a man could do without a record label and no formal training on the internet in a new era. It wasn't just a paradigm shift for Lemon Demon, it was a paradigm shift for, Earth, the world, media at large. This was probably unintentionally a pioneer of the modern media landscape, one of the trailblazers, and it was all on the power of one demonic Lemon. But was this distinction as Lemon Demon's greatest hit yet deserved? Does the rest of Dinosaur Orchestra live up to this titanic legacy? Yeah.
Travel back in time with me. 200 million BC. What's your name and what do you play? My name's Neil and I don't play anything.
Dinosaur Orchestra is what I would like to call Neil's first magnum opus. It's clear that a lot of effort went into this album, since it has the longest track length of any release to date, with 19 tracks, 16 bonus tracks, and one secret track. It also features a vague framing device, 3 iterations of the eponymous Dinosaur Orchestra, a concept trilogy about jamming with dinosaurs. Very charming. Neil is employing more concepts than usual. The best tracks of this album are Action Movie Hero Boy, Lawnmower, This Hyper World, and of course, as discussed, The Ultimate Showdown. The bonus tracks are no slouch ever. White Bread Boyfriend I remember being pretty big on the shared forums back in the day. Another classic is Bill Watterson, The Tale of a Stalker, the author of Calvin and Hobbes. For a long time I thought this was based on a true story, but it's not. There are also some excellent Ultimate Showdown remixes, my favorite being the Aaron Ackerson remix, featuring Neil's vocals and a new instrumental, which makes it sound a lot different. A few of the bonus tracks, including Bill Watterson, got re-released on Neil's next album in 2008, View Monster, which we'll talk about in a second, but as its standalone, I really enjoy Dino. At this point in time, Neil has gone from MIDI guy to competent songwriter and genuinely great artist, and has remained in the milieu of indie content creator. He carved out a niche and was happy for it. One of my favorite things about Lemon Demon is its transience. This was just one of many of Neil's projects, something he gave himself to but never intended to go big. When it did, it was nice, but in the end it was all for the fans. Neil's lack of ambition is one of his greatest credits. He seems so satisfied with where he is, and I really like that. There's no need to explore his personal life, no need to exhaustively promote his work, no need to do anything but share some fun little tunes this guy made. To many artists these days we'd call indie stray so far from that distinction, it's somewhat heinous. We all remember the fall from grace the band Fun had, as well as the meteoric rise of Billie Eilish, marketed as independent, but far from it. It's nice to have bands like Lemon Demon, scrappy little artists for a niche of people, made with limited appeal on purpose for no critical acclaim. The world is too full of people with too much ambition, too much drive, and not enough creativity. Fuck making it big. I find something very aspirational about what Lemon Demon became. Loved. If you look in the comments for any Lemon Demon album, you'll find a great number of people just appreciating the work for the sake of it. People who know it's not perfect, that Neil's vocals could use work or that it could be mixed better, but that doesn't matter. Critique falls away because it's unneeded. Who cares how good or bad it is? It meets the criteria of good, and for Lemon Demon, that's all that matters. Even if you don't like one of the songs, well, that's why they invented the skip button. Essentially, Lemon Demon disproves the notion of objective critique. The thinking goes that no matter what, people should be allowed to level any critique on any subject, that it's the only means which people can improve their craft. It's a very negative approach, and one that I'm sure many musicians have either fallen into or been subjected by. Music online isn't easy. It's actually incredibly discouraging. Generally speaking, no one wants to listen to anything you make. Not because it's bad, but because there's already a deluge of other works being put out and enjoyed, that yours just are another drop in a vast sea of that sweet, sweet content. And when you are noticed, more often than not, it's in the form of someone decrying your work, sneering at you, looking down their nose, usually by someone who makes music too. Lemon Demon is proof that you don't need some gauntlet of remorseless naysayers to get good, and you don't even really have to be good in the first place. People just have to like it. The hope that someone will love your work should motivate you to be better. not some bitter, decrepit worship of quality and critique at the altar of your peers. Anyway, let's talk about View Monster.
Market town, what a doozy walking round with all these putrid people everywhere.
View Monster is a return to Neil's roots. First of all, Kaleidoskull is an instrumental track to open up things off like the previous Neil era. There are also numerous transitions in between tracks. This one features 16 tracks and 16 bonus tracks, not including the transitional stuff. When Neil later signed on with Needlejuice Records, more on that later, there were also some different bonus tracks, including some of Neil's albumless releases such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokemon. Another return to Neil's roots is a collaboration track, Knife Fight, which features Marty from Uncle Monster Face.
I'm tired of your mind games. I'm sick of playing Don't Wake Daddy, good sir. No more rock, paper, scissors for me.
Neil's early work had more collabs, but this seems to be the last one in Lemon Demon's discography. I would say that this album is a peer to Dinosaur Orchestra, but they're very different. The standouts on this album were Amnesia Was Her Name, Market Land, and the bonus track Ben Bernanke. I think the best way to compare Dino to Monster is Dino is a magnum opus and Monster is a tour de force. In a less pretentious way, Dino was Neil's first truly great album, and Monster is an iteration on that with fewer limits. Another bonus track is Super Hey Ya, a remix of the Outkast hit Hey Ya. I wonder if Neil will ever do any more straight remixes. Another bonus track is Toy Food, which got a cool music video in 2009.
Hello. Today I bought a box. It's full of fake plastic food. It's not real food. I wrote a song about it. Hello.
Drumsticks, cake mix, watermelon, taco shells, soda pop, lemon, apple, olive oil, Cheerios, green grapes, purple.
Same with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pokemon. Also, the video for Amnesia Was Her Name's comment section on YouTube is just 41 people who all said, "Oh, cool." I don't know why, I just think that's funny. These three albums round out what I call the Showdown Era, which is essentially a high point for Lemon Demon's popularity, all centered around the Ultimate Showdown. This era also featured a great deal more music videos and YouTube content as the platform had taken off at this point. This also sadly marks the end of Lemon Demon's consistent releases. Each album from Clown Circus onward released within about a year of each other, with Deporitaz circa 2000 filling in the 2007 gap between Dino and Monster, and View Monster would be the last annual track release with new material Lemon Demon would make. That doesn't mean the story is over, however. Far, far from it.
Extra clever, earthbound spirit, ghost in the form of a mongoose. And I have hands, and I have feet. I'll never die. I am a freak. Hello.
The last thing I'd like to touch before we enter the 2010s is the album Almanac 2009, released in 2009 at Youmacon. This was a best-of album featuring 14 tracks. 3 re-recorded tracks, 10 legacy tracks, and 1 original song. This is Youmacon, a rendition of This Is Halloween from Nightmare Before Christmas, retooled to be about the Detroit Culture Convention. This might seem like a small release, but this album was the first piece of media I actually owned of Lemon Demon. I was at Youmacon that year. I'm pissing myself with anger that I never kept any photos, but that was one of my favorite events I've ever been to. Sadly, 2010 was the first Lemon Demonless year since 2003. To make up for this, in 2011, another re-release album was created, the first album to feature an actual band, not simply Neil recording everything. In fact, this is the first time, and only time, that Lemon Demon could be called a band. Live Only Not refers to the live recording, even though it was not a live show. Personnel for this show listed on Bandcamp are Neil Cicierega, vocals, piano, and songwriting, Greg Lanzalotta, drums, recording, and mixing, Alora Lanzalotta, bass, Charles Chooch Sergio, guitar, and Dave Kitzberg, also guitar. This is probably my single most favorite Lemon Demon release. Something about hearing an actual band play these songs for the first time is magical. It's like a puppet coming to life. There are only 19 tracks, none of them original, and they don't even hit any of the classics, spare for Ultimate Showdown, but this album might very well be Neil's best job singing. I love it. It's the most slept-on piece in Lemon Demon's library, and if you look up one single thing because of this video, look up Live Only Not. Great entry point into Lemon Demon's body of work.
We should pocket the sunshine and never give it back. Even if there's a heat wave or terrorist attack, it will just be a close shave, I know.
Sadly, the scattershot nature of these releases would become a trend in the coming years. The next 2 releases were original, but they were similarly short. 2 extended plays, I Am Become Christmas in 2012 and Nature Tapes in 2014. A far cry from the yearly albums, but these 2 were still amazing. I Am Become Christmas is a concept EP about, what else? Christmas. Lemon Demon's spin on Christmas, of course, is a characteristic dark optimism, like the Christmas season was wrapped up in a dark black bow. The best song on this 5-track treat is Aurora Borealis, an instant Christmas staple in the holidays or outside. Christmas has another instrumental intro called Prelude to Presents, and ends with Sad and Crypto Santa, both jarringly earnest and jarringly surreal takes on the holidays. It's like seeing the world's most celebrated holiday from a slightly different angle. I like it. It's mired in the sort of malaise that winter comes with, a very down-to-earth thing that you rarely see in other Christmas albums. This is honestly kind of a black sheep among Lemon Demon's releases. It's short, sweet, and unique, even when compared to other Lemon Demon stuff. I'm glad it was made.
Let's go to the graveyard and cover up darkness. It's okay, I've done this tons of times. Well, maybe once a year since I was very young. It will be fine, okay, I do this all the time. And nothing could go wrong unless that's what you like. Is this the first time?
The other EP, Nature Tapes from 2014, had 7 tracks, 9 after it was re-released to Needle Juice. This EP was made up of the Homeless singles I discussed earlier. The most iconic track from this release has to be Two Trucks, which details the sexual exploits of 2 all-American vehicles.
2 trucks having sex. 2 trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. 2 trucks.
I don't have any actual numbers, but 2 Trucks is probably the second most known Lemon Demon track outside of Ultimate Showdown. This era of Lemon Demon is punctuated by a sort of unhinging. Now, I don't know Neil Cicierega, but if I were to guess, I would say in a general way, this was sort of the time Neil began to retire the label. It was time to unwind Lemon Demon, to put it back on the back burner, to work on things like New Kids on the Rock and YouTube, perhaps, or just a more general diminishing return on the investment. Given this, I think it's wonderful that we got so many releases like this at all. I think it's wonderful we got the next album. The final Lemon Demon album of all was not until 2016, 2 years later, with the critical bombshell, Spirit Phone. After View Monster, Neil began work on Spirit Phone, an album which took 8 years to produce and release, the first single of which was Eighth Wonder, released way back in 2009. Between 2009 and 2016, singles would be released that would eventually appear on Spirit Phone, but unlike Nature Tapes, which was just a conglomeration of homeless singles, Spirit Phone was a new, bold Lemon Demon vision. Spirit Phone had 14 tracks and several bonuses, some of which were demos. This album is similar to I Am Become Christmas in that it is vaguely conceptual, surrounding what I can only describe as paranormcore, the kind of shit you'd see on 4chan's X board in like 2012. The hits include Cabinet Man, Eighth Wonder, and the bonus track Redesign Your Logo. All of these tracks here are a little darker than Neil's previous work, but in a fun way, like a haunted house but with a clown. My favorite is Eighth Wonder, which features a song from the perspective of an actual cryptid named Jeff, which a British family made up in the 1930s that allegedly was a ghost in the form of a mongoose. Read it up on Wikipedia, it's really interesting. The album is also much more focused, which I really enjoy. Neil offering some more meaty critiques and commentary on society in this one, especially the likes of Redesign Your Logo, which is a stark depiction of how intensely advertising dehumanizes us as people. I also like Reaganomics. On top of the critique though, they're fucking bangers. Spirit Phone is probably the single most acclaimed album project of Lemon Demon. Until Spirit Phone, Lemon Demon mainly existed as disjointed singles on YouTube and mp3.com, but Spirit Phone was the first one people seemed to listen to in earnest, sparking interest in the other albums as well. In response to this, in 2018, Lemon Demon signed to Needle Juice Records, publishing Spirit Phone and some of Neil's back catalog as well as far back as Java Bean. Needle Juice re-released the albums with new bonus tracks as well, but nothing original was made for them. If you're looking for a place to support Lemon Demon, they're a great place to start. Needle Juice also publishes for indie darlings like Talia Hall and the aforementioned Logan Whitehurst in the Junior Science Club. Needle Juice also remastered Spirit Phone in 2022, but nothing new has been released by Lemon Demon since then. There are also 2 tracks that Lemon Demon made for Gravity Falls that were cut from production, both a theme song mock-up and a Bill Cipher song that received a fantastic animatic from the YouTuber Psychic.
Today's just so wonderful. I feel like chuckling. Ha ha ha. I feel all fuzzy inside like a duckling, full of tarantulas. And now that I'm here tonight, it's gonna get weird. Look at these creatures, not enough features. Cats should breathe fire, bears should sing choir. Very nice. Look at this tower under my power. Look at these people, puny and feeble.
I'm sad these were never included in the show. Neil's works fit into Gravity Falls' universe to a T, especially Spirit Phone's era. Other than this, there have been no Lemon Demon releases. Spirit Phone is the last Lemon Demon album, and it's been 6 years since then in 2022. It's unlikely there will be more, as Neil seems to have moved on, but I can't bring myself to be sad about that. There are quite literally hundreds of tracks of Lemon Demon, giving them an impressive run of over a decade, from 2003 to 2016, with plenty more artists related to check out on Needle Juice. I'm of the belief that time does not constrain great music. I might be wrong, and Lemon Demon might have an album in the future up this sleeve, but if this is all there is, to me, that makes me happy. Lemon Demon represents one man's skills developing over a decade, and along the way, shaping an internet culture as we know it. The world would be a sadder place without the whimsical mind of Neil C., and I appreciate the work he's done. At the end of the day, Lemon Demon is a testament to the growth of an artist. It makes me happy just to think that right now, some kid is releasing his Bandcamp singles that will, in 10 years, be the next big viral sensation. There are probably hundreds of people out there making music just like Neil did, and maybe you're one of them. It's proof that anyone can make it, that anyone can get better, that anyone can become great. There is room on this earth for everyone to carve out a niche for themselves. Lemon Demon isn't a household name, but it is well loved. Lemon Demon has never won a Grammy, but people still make playlists and listen to them. Lemon Demon isn't famous, prestigious, or even the best of the best, but they are there, and our lives wouldn't be as full of whimsy without them. I love Lemon Demon, and I hope you do now too. But that's not the end of the story, is it? Neil Cicierega didn't just stop making music, did he? We all know that's not true. We all know that's not true in the least. Before Spirit Phone in 2014, Neil Cicierega, outside of the Lemon Demon name, released an hour-long track to Bandcamp called simply Mouth Sounds. This, much like some of Neil's earlier viral hits, needs no introduction in the least. It's a mashup album entirely made up of surreal remixes of Smash Mouth's All-Star mashed up with other 2000s Americana such as Modest Mouth and... I said Modest Mouth. Fuck. Such as Modest Mouse and Daft Punk. This mashup album is a joke, but it's far beyond just a joke. It has some genuinely good remixes, including Daft Mouth. Yeah, it's Daft Mouth. Fuck. A compilation of Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, and Walkin' on the Sun, which goes hard. There's also Tears in Chocolate Rain, which makes Chocolate Rain into an actual haunting commentary, like it recontextualizes the meme song into a song about racial injustice like it was always meant to be. Alright, now I've been playing a lot of Lemon Demon tracks because Neil is like famously okay with his stuff being talked about online and like there's no copyright on him. But I can't play these tracks because they do have copyright because it's a mashup album, so I can't. I'm sorry, you're just going to have to imagine these things or go listen to them yourself. Later, also in 2014, Neil followed up Mouth Sounds with Mouth Silence, something dubbed a prequel to the original album, featuring more mashups without Smash Mouth. This album, unconstrained by one singular sample, is even better than the original, featuring the now famous Crocodile Chop, Elton John vs. System of a Down, and my personal favorite, Born to Cat, Bent Fabric vs. Bruce Springsteen. This isn't even touching the various esoteric references to Smash Mouth hidden in the data of the album. This album also inspired other works, most notably the work of Triple Q in their Birthday Girl series. Look up Crimes Against the Internet on YouTube if you want more unhinged matchups featuring more anime inspiration. The Mouth train slowed down for a little while until in 2017 after the release of Spirit Phone, when Neil released Mouth Moods, another more freestyled mashup album, including a healthy sprinkling of mouth. The hits of this album are Bustin', a straight-up remix of the Ghostbusters theme with YTP-ified lyrics, and Wow Wow, a remix of Wild Wild West that in my mind has outright replaced the original song. Finally, 3 years later in 2020, Neil released the final in the Mouth quadrilogy, Mouth Dreams, a tour de force combining all of Neil's exhaustive knowledge of Smash Mouth and mashups, featuring such hits as Just a Baby, featuring Justin Bieber and Johnny Cash, Ribs, and Fred Hammer. All of the Mouth albums are quite unique in that they aren't so much singular tracks and mashups, but they all have links interspersed. Neil is taking great pains to make sure all 4 albums have a through line, making them all genuinely good experiences to listen through. My personal favorite is Silence, but they're all good. It's uncanny how good they are, actually. Like I said, some of them replace the originals in my mind. It's like the meme has transcended. A lot of people like this album who weren't even alive during the 2000s when many of these tracks were released. That's how good this is. It's just good on its own. As a YouTuber on one of the albums said, quote, Neil is the king of, all jokes aside, this is actually pretty good. The final Neil Cicierega release worth mentioning is, of course, the Not For Resale's OST, which is an instrumental album that's evocative of the 80s that Neil made for the documentary Not For Resale, which, full disclosure, I haven't seen. I have heard the OST, though, and it rules. It's been what's playing throughout this entire section. There was so much I didn't even talk about here. So much. There's Guaranteed Video, Potter Puppet Pals, the fandom videos, so much shit that I just didn't have time for, because in the end, this was about Lemon Demon the band and the projects that surrounded it, not Neil Cicierega. This video was originally much longer, with a breakdown of every single Lemon Demon song ever, but that video would have been way too much and not fun for me to make, so I made this video instead, which is quite frankly still way too fucking long. This speaks to Neil's body of work. If you want more information about him, the guy, though, there is a great YouTube video on YouTube. Well, I mean, that's where YouTube videos are. I'm sorry, everybody. The video is called Neil Cicierega, Internet Person from the XOXO Festival, whatever that is, where he goes more in-depth about his history and the internet. Like I said, if you're looking for something to support Lemon Demon, you can do so through Bandcamp or Needle Juice. At the end of the day, Lemon Demon means a lot to me. There's a lot to be said about what constitutes skill and what it takes to make a viral hit, but I've already said all that stuff in previous sections, so I want to wrap up by saying two things. One, Lemon Demon is good. Seriously, check them out. It's literally free. Fuck. Two, if you're an aspiring musician of any stripe, just keep going. Critics and foes will try to tear you down, and you might become discouraged enough to quit. But you should keep making stuff. I won't lie and say you'll get famous or rich or make your dad finally love you or something, but you will make some music that you like. You will make friends, and you will enjoy your life. Rarely do groups like Lemon Demon appear. In an era of Spotify and homogenized music, there are so few bands like them. Bands who don't compromise in quality or niche appeal. Bands who are still making songs about shit they like, saying what they want to, untainted by this hellscape of capital we now reside. These are the bands that will never appear on a For You page, bands that you'll never hear at high school dances, bands that, when you recommend them, you'll get blank looks and confusion. We live in an age where record labels and companies like Viacom and Warner Music control their assets and artists with fists of steel and scrub away any uniqueness like the rough side of a sponge, and the internet was supposed to fight against that, put power in the hands of the listener. Lemon Demon is that power personified. A simple symbol, a humble man, just banging out the fucking tunes. I've been Funk McLovin. Like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, tickle my balls. This video is fucking over.